We have a lot to cover. A lot was said by both Andrew Berry and Todd Monken, but also Browns ownership. Some things I did not expect to hear. Maybe I will admit that I was hoping to not hear. But here we are. It's going to be a reality, and we're going to get into it all. Buckle up. Shedeur v. Deshaun. Here we go.
Well, the thing is, I like the idea of what they've said. I know a lot of people have gotten a lot of pushback, and I understand that as well. You know, there's some shrapnel that has happened over the last couple of years, but that's not what Monken's thinking. So I think it's a good thing in terms of they're trying to win now, and everything that I hear week after week, and you listen to everybody is we got to build towards the future. If I'm a football coach and I'm 6 years old, I got to win right now, and it doesn't mean that you necessarily are going to see Shedeur or you're going to see Deshaun. It just means hopefully. They're competing, and hopefully they're both ready to play. That's the way I see it. I didn't see it as a negative, but some people do, and I understand that as well.
So let's sort of start with the Jimmy Haslam comments that were out there. Obviously, the only ones that we don't have like a recorded record of, but that were very well circulated. I think this was the only time I actually took a break. Like I usually go on vacation, I'm like, I'll open social media, but I'm not going to post on social media. That's way too much work. The one thing I ended up posting was the Jimmy Haslam comments off of Deshaun with just a simple of like, oh, I'm sure my timeline, the rest of it here is going to be nice and calm and collected after seeing this at the very top. And lo and behold, I was correct. It was anything but calm and collected. Everybody had their reactions based on the comments that went along the lines of, hey, just because I said swing and a miss last year doesn't mean that this year it can't be a home run. I think I start with like where the right place to weigh with how much weight you actually put into comments like that, because innately it explains to you exactly what we were thinking, that Deshaun's going to be in the competition. We've been told this multiple times, that he's going to have the opportunity to go fight for the starting job. That part's not news to you, but the way that I saw so many people take it was like, oh, this means Deshaun Watson's going to be the week one starter, which I understand the reaction based off it, especially when it's coming,
right
out of ownership's mouth, but that's also not exactly directly what was said either. It was, hey, I called it a swing and a miss, but that doesn't mean it can't be a home run. AK doesn't mean he can't come out, win the starting quarterback battle, and then go have a really good season. Now, I don't know that I think he can have a really good season, but I understand that the Browns clearly are in that thought, and that's really all I took away from it.
I live in this little bubble I like to call reality, and I understand how it can come off as me throwing shade at Deshaun or hating on Deshaun. And I'm just here to tell you, from a football standpoint, I just don't think it's realistic to have much in the way of expectations of what Deshaun's going to be able to give you this fall, and it's why I just would rather see Shedeur Sanders. This is a guy who's only played 19 games since the 2020 season. That includes 2 full years off. One was a sit-out when his final year in Houston in 2021. Last year out with the multiple ruptured same Achilles injury, right? So the times that he was on the field for the Browns, which have been few and far between, whether it was coming off of the sit-out plus suspension a year and a half, whether it is coming off the shoulder injury, to now with the Achilles, like, I have no doubt Deshaun is going to look great in practice, okay? There's no contact. There's no fear of contact and whatnot. But what we have seen from him is once he gets out on the field against the opposition, where he is a target, it's not gone well. And that includes the practices, I should say, against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we're going to get, for me, the real judgment of Deshaun begins when the Buffalo Bills will come to town for the joint practices, because he's going to be going against another team, that they're going to be working on their own stuff and whatnot. That's when the judgment for me is going to begin, not during the mini camps or the OTAs. It's going to be when the joint practices start, and obviously the preseason, because, again, it's been rough watching this guy after these long layoffs. But I have no doubt if he's healthy, he'll win the starting job from Shedeur, because he's the one that has the experience, and I expect that to pay off. But I also expect that that's not going to bear fruit come the regular season. I think they got a better shot to win with Shedeur. That's just my take on it.
Well, I would say this, and I've had people say, winning less with, Shedeur is better than winning more with Deshaun. And I just have to disagree. And the reason I like what has been said about Deshaun Watson is that everything that's happened in the past that absolutely means nothing. And that's a good thing. And that's good for everybody. Again, this is a ripple effect of what happened when you get rid of your head coach. But for me, when people say he's going to look good in practice and he'll look better than Shedeur, then that's a problem for Shedeur, because you're right, Daryl. They're not getting hit. They have red shirts on. They're not getting touched. So that's the opportunity where Shedeur's got to look better, because there is no live bullets, and that's an issue. So for me, I've looked at this as more of a positive, even though people have pushed back. This is, if he's the best guy, I'm not looking to develop. I'm not looking to do all these things. I'm looking to win week 1. And if Deshaun Watson gives me the best chance to win week 1, then I'm going with Deshaun Watson. And I like Shedeur, and I like Dylan, and I don't really care who the quarterback is. But for me, it's not and all the shrapnel and everything that's happened, that's all real with Deshaun. Doesn't matter if he gets healthy. If he gets healthy, he wins the job. If there is a true competition, I don't, how they do these things. We'll see. I'm looking forward to see how Todd Monken runs his practice.
By the way, Coach, I think Deshaun is healthy.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that's in question here. Mm-hmm. I think he's healthy now, and from the start of everything, which is a good thing. Well, like I said, that positions him to put his best foot forward, right? Mm-hmm. I do feel that's just my take on it. Watching the Instagram videos that he puts out on social media and that, like, he looks healthy to me. But we'll see. We'll see how that translates.
So for me, I think everybody's kind of right on what they're thinking about if he should play, the future, all that. But as a football coach, I want to win right now. And what do I have to do to win right now? And I think if he gives you the best shot now, if he is healthy and Shedeur beats him out, that's a great thing for Shedeur. Once again, I look at more of what do the Browns have to do, because whoever's been in a quarterback, they haven't won very much. So now Todd Monken, the big thing for me is that when they said QB competition last year, first of all, I don't care if there's just 2 QBs. It's really hard to measure quarterbacks sometimes the way Kevin Stefanski ran his practice. Lots of guys run it like that, so it's not wrong. But if you don't have more live bullets, if you don't have live action, it's tough to evaluate, especially the quarterback. It doesn't mean he has to be live, but is everybody else a little bit more live around? So, again, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a positive thing, because they're not set into what they're doing. And hopefully Todd Monken is, like, not caring what is being said. I hate to say that, but, like, I'm playing the best guy. That's what I want to see from him.
See, because I'm in an interesting spot, because there's part of me that does think, okay, what does Deshaun look like right now? Like, I'm interested to see it in some ways, because not only are you coming off of 2 injuries where you expect the rust, and we've seen what we've seen on the field over the past few years, but we're also talking about an offense that was never really designed for him. They brought in Ken Dorsey and tried to mix the 2 offenses, but when we compare it to the Bill O'Brien Houston offense, I mean, they're irrecognizable to each other. That was an offense that was set up for Deshaun to succeed. This is an offense that was somewhat adapted for him to hopefully succeed, but not set up for him to really go. Where we talk about Todd Monken, he's going to set up your best guys to go forward. And if one of those guys is Deshaun, you expect the offense to be set up pretty well in an area for Deshaun to succeed. So there is part of me of going, okay, I know he didn't look good on the field, but if he's put into a spot where he's comfortable, right, we know what the ceiling ends up being, or what, closer to the ceiling we can get to. I guess more of the problem I have is with Jimmy's individual comment of the swing and a miss can turn into a home run. Because I think home run is far gone at this point. Like, Deshaun could come like the world on fire. One, the contract is still a swing and a miss, because you got 1 good year out of your quarterback that you paid $230 million. 2,
that's assuming you get a good year,
right?
By the way, that's a big assumption on your part. Nothing personal. No, that's a pretty big assumption on your end.
It's a massive assumption. That's the thing.
But it could happen.
But I think
But it's an assumption, but it could happen.
We are in like the...
I could win the lottery.
If I'm generous, 5% possibility, and I think it's lower than that, but 5% possibility that Deshaun returns to Houston, Deshaun, and plays at the $230 million level.
Where they go 4-12, but he leads the NFL in passing yards? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
I more so probably meant like the years prior when he was making the playoffs and actually pushed the Browns.
I couldn't resist, okay?
It was on the table. He was there. But like, even if he got to that level and led the Browns to the playoffs, anything short of like you knocked out of the park and looked like a top 5 quarterback still leaves you in a terrible position organizationally moving forward, because now you're right back in a much more convoluted Baker Mayfield situation of, okay, the guy's good, but is he good enough to get me over the hump? Am I trusting what I've seen for 1 season, or am I trusting what I've seen out of Deshaun for the previous 6? And that's not a head coach evaluation. Todd Monken goes, that guy's great.
Well, it's an availability issue. Like that, to me, that's what it comes down to. It's not just the injuries that he has suffered. It's an availability issue, okay? The human body can only take so much. Like, again, I am trying to look at this situation through a very practical and realistic lens. I understand what you're saying, Jake, Coach. I understand what you're saying. I just don't want to sit here and get people hyped up with these lofty expectations that, okay, because Deshaun's healthy, he's going to look like the dude from 6 years ago or the dude that walked onto the practice field in 2022 with the Browns during the offseason program as he was going through all of his off-the-field issues. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, that those practices, that was some of the best quarterbacking I had ever seen in a Browns practice, okay? I'll acknowledge that. But then he started to not become available. The 11-game suspension comes back. Rusty, right? We're making excuses. Well, he hadn't played a year and a half. What do you expect? He's a little rusty. Got to take some time to get the old game thing going again, right? And then, off the shoulder injury, same thing, right? Oh, looks a little rusty. You got to need some time to get back healthy again. And now the ruptured, Achilles, and not once but twice. So physically, I think right now as I said, I think he's healthy. And he would be cleared to play by the medicals right now, okay? I just have no expectation that he is going to have the feel for the game that is required for him to play at that elite level that pays him $46 million a year. So what got my attention wasn't the Haslam comment. Mm-hmm. It was the Andrew Berry pondering, well, we'll see what happens, but yeah, maybe we do extend Deshaun. That's when I had the heart attack. Not because Jimmy Haslam talked about, I could go from a swing and a miss to a home run. That's Jimmy Haslam, okay? Jimmy Haslam's very good in front of the cameras and the microphones, and I know he said, well, I could have articulated that better last year and all that. No, he's very good dealing with the media. He's very quotable. He says what's on his mind. He speaks with passion and energy and all that, okay? I believe him when he says we're frustrated, we want to get this right, yada, 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 right? My issue is they just don't know how to get there. Like, I have no doubt that they want to win, okay? They spend like it. They spend over $300. They're the top spending franchise in the National Football League each of the last 3 years. They should get a trophy for that, okay? And they have nothing to show for that. So, That's where I got nervous, where Andrew Berry's like, well, we'll see how it goes, but, there is a world maybe where we do extend Deshaun. Yikes! But you know what? That means that he played 17 games. He played at the Houston Texans level, that all-pro level, right? A lot of passing yards, a lot of touchdowns, not a lot of interceptions, not a lot of sacks, or negative plays, right? But for me, I just think right now it's totally premature to even not reminisce, but contemplate that particular world. For me, a lot has to happen before I can get there romancing the greatness of Deshaun Watson on a football field right now.
Yeah, I live in that tunnel. That's funny you say that. I live in that tunnel where I think Deshaun Watson can be really good again. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to continue to get better. I think Dylan Gabriel in the right spot can help and be a player in this league. That's okay if they're not, but I think as coaches, and once again, it's always good to have different, views of it, but I'm hoping Todd Monken has this view where I'm going to get everybody better. I'm going to get everybody to their peak, and then we'll decide. And that would be, as a coach, that's what I'm hoping they do. So I don't really necessarily, the reality part of it, I kind of live on the edge of that because I say to myself, I'm not disappointed if Deshaun doesn't do it. I think he can. And if he doesn't, okay. But I think when you have that belief, that the attention to detail in practice, how you plan, how you take care of your body, how you eat, every little thing matters because you think you're the guy and your coach thinks you're the guy. I don't know. There's something to be said about that. What everybody's saying is very, very true. But I think with all these guys, I think in that lane of I'm going to get the max out of all these guys, and then we'll see who's going to play.
I think the big thing for me is you're going into this year. We ended last year at least thinking we were heading into this year with let's put Shedeur in a quarterback competition. If he goes and wins that out, then he shows you he can be the guy or he can't be the guy on the field.
Right.
I think right from week one, if you can't beat out Deshaun Watson, probably have your answer there anyway, is that Shedeur probably wasn't going to be the guy. And you're going to be turning to an alternative method, probably the 2027 draft at some point either way.